Hello there, welcome to lesson number 3 in our series on creating pendants using FluidDesigner for 3D printing. In today's lesson we're going to show you how you can create a pendant using Nurbs Circles. So if you start FluidDesigner up, first thing we need to do is to go to Learning Projects and Jewellery Projects Pendants. And we're doing lesson number 3, so it's 03 Nurbs Circle Pendant. I'll just switch on the screencast key so any key presses I make should be displayed in the window here. And this is what we're actually going to recreate today. It's this pendant here, which has got LOVE written in it. So if we just view that from the top. Now, in the help instructions here, it shows you how you can add 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Nurbs circles onto the page by using Add Curve Nurbs Circle, and how you can combine the 5 of them together and set them up to be 2D objects. And that's what the instructions in the help panel here tell you how to do it. I'm going to show you another way to do it, so you can go to the follow the instructions in the help window here to do it manually. In this video I'm just going to show you another way of actually doing it. And so if I click on Group Library here just to refresh the panel, if we go to 3D Templates Nurbs Circles, here we've got some Nurbs Circles that are being created for you, template files which you can just use. So we want one with 4 holes in it because we want to write LOVE. So we want 04 Nurbs Circle. Now if we just drag and drop this object onto the workspace, this will disappear. But there's another way of doing it. And what we do is if we go to File and Append, we need to just go up through the menu system and we need to look for 3D Templates Nurbs Circles. And we want the one with 4 circles in it, so it's 04 Nurbs Circles. And there are some various options here, but we want the object file. So if we click on Nurbs Circle here, what we will do is drag in from that other file a 4-hole Nurbs Circle. So any object that you create in FluidDesigner, if it's saved to disk, you can always append it, add it to the existing workspace just by following that procedure there. You just really need to know where it is. That's the important thing. Okay, so what do we want to do? Well, we want to change this one and make it look like the one at the bottom here, LOVE. So first of all we need to go into edit mode, and I'll just scroll back a little bit. Let me just see whether the snap's not on. That's okay. Previous exercises you switch the snap on. Here we want a much more free form for this object, so we're not going to use snap in this lesson. So what do I want to do? Well, I'm going to try and do the outline first of all. So if we select each of these control points around the outside of the larger circle, and there are 9 control points, I want to select all 9, and the way to do it is to hold down the Shift key and press and click on each of the control points. So as I work my way around, I've now highlighted all 9 control points, and they are for the outer circle. And what I'm going to do is, if I right click the mouse, I'm going to select Subdivide. And what that does is it adds in additional control points between the existing ones. So if I do subdivide, you can see there's a new control point. That wasn't there before. It's been added between these 2 existing control points. This is also a new control point. It's been added between those 2 points. And I'm just going to do that a second time. Well, no, maybe, yeah, no, I don't think I need it a second time. I should be able to roughly get this shape. Okay, so you can go on and do it and create as many control points as you want. I think I'm probably going to be okay here. So I want to create this kind of heart shape, So I could just drag this down. Okay, that's one way of doing it. And similarly here, I could just select the control point and move it down. Okay, that's one way of doing it. Another way of doing it is if we click on the control point, we can obviously move to the right and move down. Here we can move to the left and move down. But the other way of doing this is if we select a control point, if you press the G key on the keyboard, this is the grab feature in FluidDesigner, and that allows you to move the control point in any direction. So if you want something like this shape, which is a very free-flowing shape, highlight a control point, press G on the keyboard, and just move the point around and find a new location for it that suits the style that you want. Okay, so I'm just highlighting control points, hitting G on the keyboard, and just dragging them out into new locations. Now I'm not trying to create a symmetrical object here, I'm trying to replicate this object at the bottom. Okay. So we can duplicate the number of points by right clicking and subdivide. So we want an O up here, LO. I'll do the O first because that's it's going to be pretty easy, I think. All I'm going to do is just make it a little bit bigger than it already is. So hit the G on the keyboard, I'll just pull it out, G on the keyboard, pull it down a little bit. I don't want it all nice and neat. G on the keyboard, pull it out a bit, G on the keyboard, pull it out. Yeah, so I want a more free-flowing style to this. Now we need to create this letter L. So here I'm going to zoom in, and we really are going to have some extra control points here to change this into an L shape. So what we can do is highlight one control point, hold down the shift key and work our way around. Make sure that we select all the control points around the object. I'm not so sure whether I've got that last one. The red arrow might just be, I'm just going to make sure I've got it. I've just zoomed in. Yeah, it wasn't selected, that one. These crosshairs do sometimes get in the way of selection. So I've selected all the control points there now, so if I click the right mouse button I can subdivide, so I've got some extra control points. You can see them here. So I wanted to change this shape now and create this kind of L shape. So what can we do? Let's have a look. So if we select that one there first of all, so if we hit G on the keyboard, I can drag it down to here and hit G on the keyboard and drag that control point down. Hit G on the keyboard and drag that control point down. Now I want to avoid going out here. So G on the keyboard and drag that one down. G on the keyboard and drag that down. And I'll just take that one up slightly. Okay. Now that letter's probably a little bit smaller than my O, so you could play around and make that a little bit bigger, but you know, the principle is what's important here. You can play around and come up with any kind of shape or style. You can even, if you're really clever, develop your own font, your own style of letters for all of these characters. So I'm going to now do the V. So I might just get away with the number of control points that I've got here. I don't know. Let's just see. Let's do G on the keyboard and drag that down. G on the keyboard and drag that right up here somewhere. G on the keyboard and drag that up. G on the keyboard and drag that down. And we can just play around like that. Okay, so there's the V, not exactly the same as the one down here. I could move that down a little bit further perhaps. As you can see, it's dragging these down as well. So yeah. Okay, so LOV. I'm not going to do the very last letter here. You got the principle of it. Here, with it being such a complicated letter, you will need to add in additional control points like we did with the letter O, and modify it to create a letter E for love. As I say, I'm not going to do that because it takes a bit of time. So I'm just going to press the tab key now to come out of edit mode. So we've got LOV, we're going to assume that there's an E there. What we've got is no thickness to this object, and if you've done the previous two lessons you should know what's coming next. To add thickness we need to go to the show the curve data information, and we need to extrude the object. And what the 3mm is doing is giving us a thickness of 6mm. Because the way that the extrude works, it adds 3mm above the grid and 3mm below the grid, giving us a total height, which is the Z dimension, of 6mm. Now the other thing that I think we've not done it in this instance. The other thing that we could do is to add a beveled edge. I don't think this finished one's actually got a beveled edge, but we could add a bevel edge to this, and we can see what that does is if we click on one here, you can see that we get this bevel. We've taken away the sharp edge and get a more smooth edge. Okay, so we'd normally do this at something like 0.2 or 0.3 millimeters, so you have to type in 0.3 mm, and that just takes away the sharp edge. And it does it on the inside and on the bottom, every face around the object. Okay, so there's our thickness applied and a bevel edge applied. So what we need to do now is to change this curve. These were Nurbs circles, and Nurbs circles are curves. We need to change those now into a mesh, and we do that in FluidDesigner by going to Tools, Object Tools, and Convert to Mesh, and that is applied now, and you'll see that there is no curve icon here anymore. I can look at the size of the object, but I can't change it as a curve anymore because it is no longer a curve. The next thing I need to do is to delete the original object and take the one that we've created today, and we need to save it. So as is usual in FluidDesigner, we go to File and Save As, go up through the menu system, look for My Projects, Jewellery Projects, Pendants, and we save it as Lesson 03, a Nurbs Circle pendant, as a Blender file. And as you've probably seen in Lesson 1 and 2, FluidDesigner doesn't make a perfect job of the areas around the object where the faces are joined together. So we do need to fix this object if we're going to 3D print it. And the way to do that is, first of all, export it as a printable file format, and we like to use Wavefront OBJ format. And I'm going to export it to the desktop as an OBJ file. And then if we start NetFab Basic and go to Project and Open, and if we go to the desktop and open Lesson 03, the Nurbs Circle pendant, you'll see, yeah, that's what I was expecting. We've got a warning red triangle here. If we go to Extras and Repair the Part, we'll see where the problems are. These yellow lines are where the problems are, so it is all around the edges. There are just some holes probably and border edge issues. It's just to do with the mathematics of this. We need a completely tight mesh. So if I just drag the window across, if we just click on Update here, we'll see what the problem is. Yeah, there's 40 holes around here, and there are 5,376 border edge problems, and there are 17 shells. But not to worry. We're only talking about minor mathematical differences in the points that make up this object. So if we run automatic repair and execute it and click Update, you'll see NetFab Basic has sorted out all the border edge problems, sorted out the holes, and we're now down to one shell. And the yellow lines have disappeared, so what we need to do is apply that repair and remove the old part. And we've now still got the same object that we imported, but it's actually been fixed, and it's now completely watertight and printable. So what we need to do is to go to Part, export it as a wavefront object again, export it to the desktop. So it's 03 Nurbs Circle Pendant, and it's the repaired file. So that is the printable file format, printable file for this lesson. So that's it, creating a Nurbs Circle Pendant in FluidDesigner. Thank you.